Okay, so we started out last time. We were talking about the shofar, the sound of the shofar by the giving of the Torah at Sinai. And the first thing that the Alter Rebbe brings that we want to understand is why do we need a shofar? What, do they need musical instruments? Like, you know, a good
awakens the soul.
Well, a good example though is when you see a thunderstorm, right? Like, I understand if we're sitting here and we have music and something, it awakens the soul. But first of all, music is not the highest way of awakening a soul. That's one of the reasons on Shabbos in Yom Tov we sing with our voice and not with instruments, because it's higher than the music of instruments. But but furthermore, also, if you go in a thunderstorm, a huge thunderstorm, and it's awesome, right? Like,
I like
thunder rolling and the rain is pouring down, right? You can imagine it. Well, if you're lucky, you're sitting under something covered. Imagine sitting on the porch of a cabin in the mountains, you know. And,
you'd rather not be like standing out in the field.
Yeah, and there's a mountain range, and then it makes it harder for you to appreciate it a little bit. But imagine there's the wind you can hear the wind howling through the trees. You can hear the rain hitting everything. You can the flashes of thunder, the huge lightning, right? The thunders, right? Awesome. Now, wait, let me make this nicer for you. Let me put on. I'll put something. No, you just messed it up. This majesty of nature is so grand that no man-made thing, even the most beautiful symphony, you're not adding to it. You're taking away. Okay, so how much more so by the giving of the Torah? Take the greatest thunderstorm and lightning and fire and anything natural occurrence you've ever seen in your life, and times that by I don't know how many. You need music now? It's the majesty of it in itself is so great. What do you need music for? Now, let's say you do need music. Of all things, that's the music you need, is the music of a shofar. Is that the most beautiful music?
Maybe.
Just a shofar? Maybe. But usually, what makes an instrument beautiful is the combination of sounds. You know, it has a combination of tones.
Melody.
Or not. You know what's the difference between you know what's the difference between like an okay guitar and a beautiful guitar?
The tone.
Is the richness. But what does the richness of tone mean? It means that it's like almost like there's more than one tone going on. It's there's a bottom and a top and there's a lot. It's more complex. It's a more complex tone, makes it beautiful.
So so it's the difference between like a normal violin and a Stradivarius.
Yeah, and then plus when you play one string on the Stradivarius, but then when you hit three strings on the Stradivarius at the same time, and they're in perfect harmony. In other words, it's the complexity, and the shofar is a simple thing, and not only that, it doesn't have much of it's just one tone.
We could use trumpet or something like that. Why so?
So why is shofar of all things? And what's interesting about a shofar is that a shofar is very different than other instruments. And most instruments, they bring pleasure. A shofar, it says, brings terror. Like it says,
Really?
It says, "Will you not blow a shofar in the city, and the people will be terrified?" Furthermore, we see something else. What else? We feel fear, like right, charada, shaking, trembling. It's furthermore we see by the giving of the Torah itself. By the giving of the Torah itself, it says what? And the sound of the shofar, and all the nation is trembling. It tells you right there that they were trembling from the sound of the shofar.
What is trembling?
Charada.
I see.
What was it? It says that you're supposed to like when you offer a sacrifice, you're supposed to tremble or something like that.
Anyways, now the Alter Rebbe brings another point in, and he says, interestingly, the sound of the shofar, while it's a sound of a trembling, what does the name shofar mean?
Oh, I know.
Al Shem Ma Shipru Ma'asechem.
Oh, yeah.
Does that mean?
Kimo Imrei Shefer.
Yeah. This is what I thought.
It means beautify your deeds. It means beauty.
Shofar.
Shofar. Shipru Ma'asechem. Beautify your deeds.
What's the relation between a ram's horn that you make sound on
like
and
Rosh
beauty?
Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is a cry of the shofar to reminding you to beautify your deeds, to do tshuva.
Ooh,
Right?
Doing shuva helps you beautify.
But wait a second, we just said that a shofar is a sound that causes awe and trembling and right, which is why that's part of why we blow it on Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, we don't
Wake you up to repentance.
Right, on Rosh Hashanah we don't get up in the shul. Okay, guys, ready? Here we go. No, it's do, and the sound of the shofar is a fearful sound, and it awakens us to do tshuva. So the Alter Rebbe explains because that the shofar comes from the source of pleasure, the source of all pleasure.
Really, the shofar.
The source of pleasure, yeah. Now, the source of pleasure is
So we gone from like fear to beauty to now pleasure.
well, the beauty and the pleasure is connected. It's combined.
Okay.
Because you have beauty from the pleasure from the beauty. So it brings down from the source. So when you blow the shofar, since it's rooted in the source of all pleasures, so it brings down from this Makar Atanugim is called the source of all pleasure. And this, now by the way, that's why it does not bring pleasure when you, like other instruments, when you blow it.
Why?
Because it's from a point in pleasure that's higher than our ability to receive into our vessels.
So we can't really like experience that pleasure.
It's a higher pleasure. It's a higher pleasure than we're used to receiving.
They have the ability.
So it's almost like what do they call it? Like there's if there's a sound that's so high that you can't hear it, but a
dog whistle.
But a dog can hear it. Yeah,
yes.
Right. So it's like the same thing, something like this.
So we cannot.
Doesn't bring down the Shekhinah when you blow it.
Well, the Makar Tanugim is higher than the Shekhinah actually.
No, what did you say that we cannot have a pleasure from the sound of the shofar because
it's so high of a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's from a point of pleasure that's so high that we can't, that the human is not suited to receive this. Now, this is why we blow the shofar by Matan Torah, though, because what had to happen in order for Matan Torah to happen? What had to happen is something had to come. Remember, Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah was a change in the world. This change. What was this change? Is that this change was that it neither needed to be a drawing down from this source of all pleasure, and therefore, since in order for the Torah to be given, this level had to come down here, which in fact that was part of the whole new thing, the whole chiddush, the whole what do you call it, innovation of Matan Torah that the giving of the Torah made down here. So therefore, they're connected, and there was the blowing of the shofar by Matan Torah. And then he goes into, so that's the general thing, and then he's going to go to explain that a lot more in depth now, to really understand this idea of what was the innovation of the giving of the Torah.
Endless amount of it.
So he's going to talk about the specific ones.
He's going to start, all right.
Yeah, he's going to get us started here. So the first thing is we have to understand about the giving of the Torah is, hang on a second. Why was the Torah given at this point? Were there not great tzaddikim before? Were there not great prophets before?
Like, why didn't Abraham get the Torah?
No, let's go all the way to the beginning. Adam Arishan, the first man.
Why didn't Adam get the
Why
Torah?
did he get the Torah? Chanoich, Mr. Shelach, this is all already, right? Furthermore, Avraham, we know that Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they kept the whole Torah before it wasn't even given.
What about Chanoch and Methuselah?
You tzaddikim, they were righteous people.
It's before when
The way before, yeah.
Well, what was it? They had a scent of Torah or a taste of Torah or something like that.
So he'll explain exactly what they did. So first of all, how do we know this? Because it says, and he guarded my guard. What does it mean? They kept the mitzvahs, but however, they kept it in a spiritual way. So, what changed then, that by Matan Torah, everything became specifically in a physical way, it became, right? That was the innovation.
On a kiss. Mwah.
Oh,
What a love.
Let's get some
Oh, you bring the good stuff.
shawarma. Should we make it hot, Mendel?
hey. Oh,
Of course. Yeah. So see, so they kept the whole Torah, but you're not supposed
Put it in the
to.
oven for 10 minutes to make it hot. Shawarma.
yeah, if you want.
You warm it up. It's good to eat. It's a mitzvah to eat warm food.
Oh,
Oh.
there you go.
If you need any help, I'll help you.
So Avram kept the whole Torah, but it was in a spiritual way. So what did Avram do? Achine malis Avram, hayolef v'naseh negdo. So now he's going to talk about Avram and what was the greatness of Avram Avinu. That he was going and traveling
I'm always going that.
to the south.
What do we got?
This is really good.
It's 9.5. You're good.
Now we are talking.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
This shir is Chusar for Shlema
I am the
for Yesiv Yitzchak ben Simchasia and Baruch Mendel ben Bela.
Amen.
They should have a refuah Shlema Kreva immediately, and they should come. They should come, and Rabbi Yitkin should come and sit down and take over giving this year. He gives a lot
amen.
better than me anyway.
Oh.
Only problem is
come
But
on.
I come to your shir specifically. So like
Oh,
if
we have more people.
he was on the roster, I don't know if I would come compared to like if I was with you.
That means you don't know.
That maybe that's true.
All you'd have to
That
do,
means I need to go to more
all
shirs.
you'd have to do is come to one of his shiurim, and then trust me, you keep coming.
Whoa, okay, l'chaim.
Let's put it this way: his shiurim is why I can give these shiurim.
All right, now I have a question. So they all kept the Torah,
Yeah.
but as you know, Yaakov he married two sisters, which you know the Torah says you're specifically not. allowed to do.
Hey, that's a good question.
Oh,
That's a good question. Hey.
How are you, sir?
See you.
Good. My name is Colin.
Colin?
Yes.
First or last name?
That is my first name.
Do I get a hug too?
No, that was the last name, but
Okay.
but I have a name that could just be.
Good to see you.
Hey, you.
Yeah. Hey you. How are you, sir?
I'm so blue.
So look.
Where is Smokey? Did you want what to come?
I just moved to already. It's for a couple years.
No. What is that? The one that came last last week.
My daughter went to school in Mexico.
Yeah, he's coming.
He's coming?
Yeah.
Now
He's a good guy.
That's where I graduated.
Yeah, that's where she graduated.
So you have Avram,
I'll just show
who
you.
was such a great tzaddik.
Yeah.
Avram was a big tzaddik. Avram was a big tzaddik. So the question is, now by the way, you bring up a very good question of how did he of how did he do certain things then?
And wait.
So
The
anyway,
biggest one for me is like Moses is his parents his father married his aunt, so it specifically says you're not allowed to do that.
Right.
And I was like, how could the whole entire Cohen line come from a relation
So
that
that-
you're not supposed to do?
so that's a topic for a different thing. The Rebbe has lengthy sikhs that
I need to hear them one day.
focus just on that part specifically.
I lost
on that
time
aspect.
on that one. And I
Of
don't-
wait a second, even if we're saying you did it in a spiritual way, but wait a second, what do you mean?
Got a lot of wisdom.
I mean, why can't they do it? I mean, none of us could do it.
This is
Yeah.
all the grandkids.
Because we can't afford more than one. That's
Okay, so San Diego.
Chaim Yerucham.
Chaim.
Oh, those are good. These are good.
This is one of the best IPAs I've had. For real, it's very, very amazing for an IPA.
I don't know a lot about California, but
I am.
I mean the metach. How do you say metach?
Can I get a cup?
Okay.
Metach.
Can I get a cup? Chicago,
When you want
There might
to
be
know
one somewhere.
Los Angeles.
What,
Los
what's-
Angeles.
It's with metach you say anymore. Is it when you are waiting for the answer?
So that's
Yeah, like
Like in a TV show that you want.
no, I know it's metach. I don't know what the English.
There is no word.
No, there's a word, but it always escapes me. Whenever I'm thinking of the word in English, I can never remember it. It's like a suspense, maybe like suspense.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Suspense. You're like waiting on needles for the suspense. I think it's suspense. But metach, right? What this show is just means like tight, right? Like imtoach, right?
Yeah, that you are waiting.
Right, because you're like tight. Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you. It's okay to take this cup over there.
Yeah. Wherever you need to take it from.
Whatever I need to do.
It depends. It depends. Did it make you? It depends. Did it make you happy? If it made you happy, then yeah.
Exactly what it
They're
is.
making me happy.
No, so why not Abraham?
I need to get a better hat.
I think they needed the two mouth Mitzrayim. This is the answer,
That's
but
great.
they say like in the circle.
The what?
Because
What's your name, by the way?
I'm Holland.
they needed to
Couple.
suffer.
Nice to meet you, Holland.
Pleasure to meet you.
They needed to scream the same.
Yeah.
Ah, very
This is
nice.
something like that.
Well, they brought down Hashem also.
Next
Okay.
have you join us, Holland.
I'm glad to be here.
Oh, very good.
So we're discussing what was the innovation of the giving of the Torah at Sinai.
Okay, I'm just gonna listen.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Definitely have the.
That's perfect. If you feel the need to talk, you can do that too. Everything goes here. It's a Fabrangan. So,
Would you like a drink?
Yes, absolutely.
No,
see that's why I'm on
we got
on the paper for the
Let's go with the Pilsner.
Pilsner, okay.
on Megan on the paper for this thing. I never put I never put like a speaker or teacher. I put moderator.
Driving.
So the main question is why
So, okay, so
there
so-
and not before.
Holland, this is Rabbi.
He gave me a hug. Rabbi.
Yeah,
Oh, Rabbi. It was a pleasure to meet you.
I met Holland.
You're the third rabbi I met. No,
He'll
fourth.
give you a shrug. He'll give you a shrug.
In Shrug. I met a Rabbi Goldwasser
Oh wow,
and a Rabbi Friedman
yes. Which Rabbi Friedman?
Yes.
In
in Refill.
Greenfield, so Honey Friedman.
And I
Yeah.
met the rabbi up at, got a picture with him.
Smokey. Rost.
Ooh.
And I forgot your name.
My name's Nathan.
Nathan.
Cohen, yeah.
Chaim Silver. Also Cohen.
I'm not a
Oh.
Cohen,
Oh, okay.
but I'm a Cohen.
All right.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
He's your decoy.
What's your name?
That's funny.
Chaim Silver.
Because his name is Cohen. He's a
Nice to
Cohen.
meet you.
So
I'm
you're the
Cohen.
decoy.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Jan, J-H-N. I'm a
You know
student
your
at
job
the
to go
University of
down.
Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
So the question is,
Marketing
so
and
the
advertising.
first, the main question here
Summer,
is,
actually. I'm in my
what
last
is the
class.
innovation by the
How's
giving
it
of the Torah?
accounting? So
God comes and gives the
at
Torah.
University of New Mexico.
What's the innovation? And furthermore,
Yes.
The
why did he give it at that time?
the better looking women.
He gave it. He's giving it to what? He's giving it to the people as they're coming out of slavery.
Right.
And actually, we know that that they were on such a low level at that point that it says that he took them out early because had he not taken them out, they could have possibly sunk so low to become completely unredeemable. So he hurried to take them out before they would reach such a level.
Is it like there was a few,
They were sitting in Egypt,
a few
yeah.
years they took them out before Egypt because
Yeah.
if there was more, then they wouldn't be able to save them at all.
This is before the travels, even when they're still
they're
slaves.
traveling.
Yeah, when
Yeah,
they're still,
right.
and then once they come out, right,
That's the Red Sea.
49 days
Talking about
later,
Moses.
right,
Yeah.
so they count 7 weeks, and then they get the Torah at Sinai.
So isn't that
Now most of the travels are following this. This is in
Yeah.
the following 40 years.
so Hashem brings them out before
Now
he says they would, right?
Yeah, correct. Because they were and
Because they
Rashi
would-
explains, I think it's Rashi that explains that why did he take them out at this point? Because they had reached a level that's so low that had they sunk any lower, they couldn't they wouldn't have been able to be redeemed. They would have been stuck in the
isn't
mire.
it said that like if you will be in this time for this, you will be in Egypt for this amount of years, and then you will be destroyed. But he takes them out before that, or something like that.
Well, anyway, so he did take them out before. So now here we have this versus before that you have Abraham, you have Isaac, you have Jacob. Even before that, there were other people who are righteous people. So why did he not give the Torah to Abraham?
Just bring this one over a little bit.
So we know that Abraham, it says that he observed the entire Torah even before it was given. Meaning we know that it wasn't given by him; it was given to his great grandchildren. Right? So, but yet he kept all the commandments even before it was given. And we know that, for example, that Jacob learned with Joseph, and he taught him about the laws of in the Torah. Now the Torah hadn't been written yet at that point, but he taught them those laws. And Abraham as well, he kept all these things, like it says, "Vayishmer mishmarti," and you guarded my guard. You know that guard of my guard means you kept the mitzvahs, you kept the commandments.
Yaakov's sons, they also
Yes.
kept the
Yes.
We're talking about it.
Yes,
Did
they
you
kept
do that
it.
on purpose?
what?
See? It's not just me, right? It's not just me. Every time, all of a sudden he asks something, and I'm like, that's what and I figure he's got a camera on me. He knows what we're gonna learn. And I see, it's not just me.
Oh, he had a whole conversation with me.
It's not just me. I knew it.
I don't remember
And
that.
I always say it, and he looks at me like, nah, what do you mean? See?
All the 12 sons,
Maybe he was giving me my cliff notes for the.
all the 12 sons, they kept the Torah?
Yes.
Why am I understanding what's going on right
He
now?
also kept it. So now, how did he keep it? He kept it in a spiritual way. And how do we know he kept it in a spiritual way? The proof is that there is no way that he could have kept the commandments before the Torah was given. For example, it says that you have to give a tithe to the Kohen and the Levite. What Levites? Levi was his grandson. There were no Levites. So he couldn't have kept any commandment that has to do with the Levites. Furthermore, there's a commandment that we every day, right? Every day, as a matter of fact, both day and night, that we have an obligation. Remember the day that he took you out of Egypt.
No, but it's like there are some commandment that they applying just when they are in Israel.
Okay, but
So
Abraham
okay.
couldn't have possibly kept
No,
all
but
these.
out of
these
Bnei
things.
Israel, after we got the Torah, we could not.
Okay, but there is the possibility for it. It's just okay. If you're a man, you can't keep the mitzvah for a woman. If you're a Levite, you can't keep the one for the Kohen. If you're etc. If you're here, you can't keep the one for there. But there was still the possibility of it. At this point, there was no such thing as a Levite. It wasn't just there was such a thing, but because of a certain situation you couldn't do it. The very existence of being able to do such a mitzvah
Yeah.
was non-existent. It was impossible.
Agree.
So rather, he kept it. They kept it in its spiritual sense, meaning that, like we know that when we do mitzvahs, right, the main thing is to do the actual mitzvah itself, to do the commandment. However, there is also a spiritual side of it. There's the side of the kavanas, right, of the intentions, and to the point where we know that there's the Arizal, who was a great Kabbalist he understood all the different spiritual intentions and how, for example, each commandment affects the upper worlds and affects the worlds of the angels and affects higher than the angels. How it draws down light into the worlds of the angels, etc., etc. Now, when we do the commandment, the main thing is the action. We still do the commandment by just doing the commandment, even without the intentions. But by Abraham, all he had was the intentions. So he did them in a way of meditation and thinking about the intentions of that commandment. That what was the greatness of Avraham is that Avraham was called Holech v'Nesayah HaNegba. He was going and traveling southward. That it's explained in Chassidus that he was the Merkava, he was the chariot. He was the chariot to the level of Negba, of south. Meaning, what does it mean he's going and traveling to the south? Meaning he's constantly going and traveling until he reached this level of south. Which is level of south means that he was a chariot. What is a chariot? Just like a rider rides a chariot, he became a vessel for godly light down here on this world. And once he became a vessel for godly light down here on this world, he now creates the possibility that others can benefit from that godly light. However, until he reached this level of being a chariot, he wasn't born a chariot, right? No, nobody's born like that. We're all born human. We're all born from a mother. We're born human. That's how we're born, all of us, and everybody. Through their work and through now sometimes there's some people who because of the greatness of their work, they get like a divine gift to where they're able to go even higher than what's physically possible by their own. But ultimately, nobody's born. There is no person who's born righteous and is born a chariot. We are all born crying and screaming and pooping. That's it. That's all we do. We're all the same. And then working through life and then taking the lessons and hopefully bonding to God to Hashem is one and His name is one.
I certainly hope so.
We were able to reach a level of godly connection, even if not completely righteous people, but at least people of total connection to God.
Amen.
So until he became this chariot, right? It says Halich v'Nesaya. He was going and traveling to the south. So until he reached this south, until he reached the south, which is this being of a chariot, what was he doing? How did he get there? He did it by going and traveling. Which going and traveling is what's known as Ratzu v'Shuv. Ratzu means desire, and Shuv means return. Which he's going to explain now what these two things are. Ratzu is desire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ratzu. Yeah. Ratzu. Yeah. And Shuv. Shuv means return. Only by the angels of the chariot, right? Ezekiel has the vision of the divine chariot, and he talks about and then like a cloud of fire went among them, and behold, the angels were it says Ratzu v'Shuv, which is sometimes translated as running and jumping, but it's actually they were shooting up and coming back down.
Who's jumping?
The angels,
Really?
the ministering angels.
Their feet don't move though, right?
They were hopping. They were shooting up and down. It says, there was an look like the look of lightning bolts, all these things. But it says that this is what the angels are doing. So what's the meaning of the angels doing that? So he's going to explain that shortly, and then through understanding of what the angels do, we can understand a little more of Abraham. However, Abraham's divine service was greater than that of the angels. And that's why it's not called by him, even though he's saying it's the same thing. What Abraham did was the same divine service as these angels do with their jumping and coming back down. The only difference being it's not called that, it's called going and traveling. Shmuley the Bagel Jew. I wonder if he's here.
Yeah. Oh wait, but
Shmuley the Bagel Jew. Are you outside?
Yes, sir.
I'm sending not just Stam. I'm sending the holiest of holy to it's like a divine divine where you see the holy of holy. The Shechina herself, like the very godly presence is opening the door for you, Shmuley.
Running and jumping.
Running and jumping and coming and shooting up and down to open the door for you.
Oh, Sam, so quick! Oh my goodness! What?
It's okay. Luckily, you didn't miss anything
Wait, you
because
called, texted, then what?
you didn't miss anything because you were here last week. So we're just
I didn't know
recapping.
you were so close.
We're just recapping what we were doing last week.
Oh yeah.
Oh, good to see you, Sam. What was it? There's one more coming too.
yeah.
So what was it? Help yourself.
I like it.
So like we were talking about last time, that these angels jumping up, shooting up and down is the same thing as Abraham, but because Abraham's divine service was higher, it was called by a different name, going and traveling. So what is this Ratzu and Shuv exactly? So to understand that, we need to understand the passage that it's written, he makes peace on high, that God makes peace on high. Sheyesh eish umayim, that there is fire and water. The water does not put out the fire, and vice versa. So at first glance, this is not understood. How can you say up on high in the world of the ministering angels? Eish umayim, there's fire and water. Fire and water are physical things. Even the element of fire, right, which we think of as like this spiritual source, is not. It's only spiritual because we're so low that we think of it as spiritual. Like we were saying just before, is that there's things that we think of as spiritual. Like most people, when they meditate, they feel spiritual. You're not feeling spiritual. You're feeling a part of yourself that you don't usually feel, and therefore you think you're feeling God. Oh, it must be godliness. It's so high. Really, you think that's all how high God is what you can feel? And in fact, that's why the commandments, right? Sometimes the commandments don't feel good. Sometimes God needs to do something, and sometimes, maybe most of the time, And sometimes it's because we make an effort that it should be with joy and we should feel happy doing it. But it doesn't have to. You know, like when you wake up and you feel and you really don't feel good in the morning, and now you got to start taking a box and wrapping it around your arm and putting a thing on your head and what do you call it? And you know, like the Jews will explain to you. And then my mother-in-law called. And then after all this, I'm having the wife's day. And then would you believe it? She could smell it. My mother-in-law called. You know.
See, what was it? They call right waiter during Shemona Esrei.
You know.
So you can't.
But you know what? But so mitzvah doesn't always because and by the way, this is the problem that many people have, and unfortunately, especially in not just our country, the West in general, in Europe, it's the same thing, where there's this whole concept of like, oh, I can't accept a God that. You can't accept a God that. What? Because your idea of God is limited to what your brain can understand. So when God tells you X is good and Y is bad, not only you don't agree with him, I can't even accept a God. In other words, I can't accept a God that's smarter than me. What kind of God do you have? So for me to accept you as God, I'm going to walk around now and I'm going to look for somebody really stupid. Why? Because clearly I need a God that's stupider than me.
Awful.
Luckily, I went down the block and I found Wilbur, and I said, "This, he makes a good God. He's really stupid."
But he'll give me stuff.
Well, no. The problem is that's the problem. The problem is that God. He's too stupid to give you stuff either. That's the problem with such a God. Also,
I heard from
my God is so great. He knows better.
Yeah.
And not only that, he can give me stuff. He can even give me stuff that I didn't know I needed yet.
Before you know you need it.
But he knows I need it. And if I'm smart, I'll wake up and realize that's what I need.
Heard from my rabbi, Rav Weinberg, that like everything.
Chaim.
The Torah is the only God that can promise all of these things are going to happen. They all happen. There's not a single promise in the Torah that hasn't come to pass, except for like Mashiach. But, like,
well, because it's honestly, if you're asking me, I think it's cheating on his part.
Why
I
is
think
that?
it's cheating on his part.
yeah.
Because it's like imagine I write a book, and then I'll give it to a kid and say, read the book, and say, wait, I'm going to tell you what happens in the next chapter. Wow, he told me every single thing he told me that's going to happen in the next chapter. Yeah, because you wrote the book. Of course you know what's going to happen. So I feel it's a little bit cheating. The fact that, everything he promises happened. No, it's not that everything he promises happened. It's that everything that he promised, he made it. He of course, it happened.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he made it come true before he even promised it. It's like here,
A point.
Nathan, I'm going to give you a piece of paper. You know?
There you go.
Well, I already gave you the piece of paper. Not only that, his promise is in itself the coming true of the thing. Meaning, and he said, let there be light. And it wasn't that he said, let there be light, and then his promise came true that there was light. His very words, let there be light, made the light be. His words, his saying, let there be light, is what made the light. So it's not that like he has a promise and then there's a keeping the promise. His promise is in itself keeps the promise. We do every day.
That's just another level of acceptance of Hashem.
Can I ask, when you said
Yes.
the Torah is the only God, so what is the Torah in that sentence? What does that mean? How does that mean that? I mean, it means it, but explain the translation.
The other, I have to remember exactly what he said.
I'll tell you something very, very simple about the words of the Torah.
Yeah.
The same like the words Yehi Or, let there be light, made the light. I'll go a step further. It wasn't just the words Yehi Or, let there be light. The Torah is not a story telling us about him having said that. The Torah is his actual saying of the Yehi Or that's making the light. So rather than let me tell you a story about God, the story about God is God himself, meaning those words are his actual wisdom. It's not, and by the way, this is where Hebrew, modern Hebrew, not as much because it became man-made in many ways, but the original Hebrew is different than any other language. Every other language is an agreement between people to refer to a certain thing a certain way. So let's say we use box for this thing. Now we didn't even agree to call it that. We're just accepting a pre-existing agreement that's been there for a while. And since they called it box, and we have no real reason to change that, but like you see in the media all the time, right? Because if all of a sudden somebody decides that that box is a negative reference to Asians, then all of a sudden they're going to be scrambling to, we shouldn't call it a box anymore. We shouldn't call it, wait, we got it. Okay, so then something disrupted that prearranged agreement. So therefore, we're going to now try to get people to agree to a different word.
Then we talk about this.
Because we don't like that.
That's what I was telling him. We're sitting there and I just said, well, to me, my interpretation of, because my family wasn't religious.
Yeah, that's right.
So most people get passed down their beliefs, but my parents didn't believe. If they did believe, they didn't pass it to me. So I got everybody else's beliefs, around
Majority
it.
culture.
Exactly. So I took that stuff, and as I looked at all of it, I realized that the beginning of everything that I sounds almost the same. This part, the rest of it sounds different. Like anything New Testament, it sounds different. But this part,
Right.
Which box?
kind of. Pardon?
Well, they're not going to be too far off from each other because they're all essentially a translation
Of
into their language.
this original language.
And then yes, to some degree, they're adulterated for certain reasons and certain purposes, certain agendas. But overall, but the difference between the old Hebrew and you see, and it's a funny thing because a kid, he comes into school, right? A Jewish child comes to school. What's the first thing we teach them? Elef, Beis, Gimmel, the letters, the Hebrew letters. Really, what's so spiritual about that? Shouldn't you start by telling them about God is one and His name is one and what's it called? You start teaching the Jew the letters because these letters are different than other letters. The very shapes of these letters. God's intellect, God's wisdom rests in these letters, and to the point where these letters are the Torah is not man describing what God did. It's God describing what God
As
was.
he
And He's not just describing what He did, He's describing what He is doing. He is describing what He will do.
At the same time.
Yeah, and this is the blueprint.
So he's a past, present, and future.
So
at the same time.
and particularly,
That's his name.
well, and that's him, and that's his name. Is he's the past, present, and future all at once.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel what you mean. I grew up in a unreligious household myself, but I observed the world around me and I gained my own beliefs of how the world works. And when I finally actually studied the Torah and read the Torah, I was like, this is like I should have studied this from the first part. I didn't have that from the beginning, but I looked at so many philosophies, so many different outlooks of the world, and I gained my own view of the world. And when I finally read the Torah, I was like, this is a view that I had all along. If only I started with this from the beginning.
You know what, couple? You know what his real story is? His real story was he came and saw me with a bottle of whiskey and said, "That's something I can believe. There's something I can believe."
Oh, but what brought me to the yeshiva? It wasn't your whiskey,
but
because I didn't know you'd be there.
What brought him to that whiskey, though? Aha! Anyway, so back to the mimer. It's not understood. What does it mean on high? There's water and fire. Like you said, water and fire are physical things. Which now reminds me how we got into the whole rest of the conversation because we were discussing how water and fire aren't physical things. Or people think they're not physical things just because they're higher, or the element of water and fire.
Let's continue to understand.
But we know that the element of fire resides under the moon. That's what's taught in the Torah. The element is the moon a physical thing. If it resides under the moon, it's a physical thing. It's true that it's of a more spiritual nature by comparison to us, but it's a creation. In fact, the truth is, even spiritual things are creations, because even the angels. See, there's a difference between. So first of all, those things aren't spiritual. Second of all, something spiritual and something godly are two different things. There's something that's spiritual, and then there's God. And even the spiritual things, even they are only creations by God. And before Him, the spiritual creations and the physical creations are the same. There's no difference. He's so beyond us that it's not like, but He's more beyond us than He is beyond the angels. No, He's as much beyond the angels as He is beyond us. He's infinitely beyond all of us. So the question is, wait a second, how can there be fire and water up in the world of the angels, which is a spiritual world? And what does it mean that what are they fighting up there? The angels are fighting up there. That He has to make peace between the water and the fire. They shouldn't put each other out. That's a thing in our world only. As a matter of fact, people, beating each other up is an extension of free choice. Anywhere where you don't have free choice, you don't have beating each other up.
That's right.
Even if it does look gruesome, by the way. Even if the lion eats the baby zebra, it's not that the lion is angry so he's eating a baby zebra. It's that the baby zebra was put here for the purpose of feeding that lion, and that lion is doing his job, and that baby zebra is doing its job. It's not an ego thing. It's when you have an ego where you have it's only humans. It's only humans that hate and despise and hurt with no actual gain or benefit out of it.
Gain or benefit of what?
No, of hurting somebody else.
Ah, okay.
Or of hating somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Lions probably don't kill because of anger.
The lion doesn't go, oh, did you see what that baby zebra just gave me the hoof? Oh, that's it. You know? Right? No, nobody gives Jimbo the lion a hoof. Mm-mm. Boom, let me go get him. You know? It doesn't work that way. So what is this thing? So what is this thing that up there they need to be protected to the point where they won't hurt each other? Yeah, please.
Challah? Well, I've never had that. But,
It's chicken.
It's marinated.
Chaim.
I don't know.
So the explanation of this is the Eish Umayim Hein Bechinat Rotzu V'Shuv. When it says fire and water, it's talking about this Rotzu and Shuv, this jumping up and kind of this desire and return, this shooting up and shooting back down. Like it's known that the element of fire is in the heart.
Would you like? I just wanted to see what the mimer.
No, it's this one. It's Torah Parshas Yisro.
Oh, okay. No, it's fine. I gotta be.
So what does it mean, fire and water? Fire is referring to
Okay, very nice to meet you.
the fire is referring to the burning desire, right? The ratzu, the shooting up, and shuv is talking about the return, the cooling down. That's fire and water. That we know that the element of fire is in the heart. That there is the thirst, the desire, which is the ratzu. Like it says, if your heart runs, which that's where ratzu comes from. It actually literally means running. Mm-hmm. It could also mean like ratzon, desire, but it really comes from ratzu, running. That's why often it's translated as they were running and returning. So now what is this? Okay, so now he's going to be jumping back and forth now. The Alter Rebbe generally he gives you just enough and then goes etc. and then gives you a thing and goes etc. and gives you another thing and goes etc. He's very condensed. So when he's giving you the allegory, talking about the angels and then talking about the people, he'll jump back and forth between talking about them. and he expects you to know when he just switched back. So that's by the angels. So now, so for example, what is this? Is this thing of this fire in the heart? This type of divine service that's by the angels. He says. So for example, by a person when he will put his heart to it, and he will contemplate b'gedulas ein sof baruch hu, when he will contemplate on the greatness of the Infinite One, blessed be He. Shekishmoi kain hu, that just as His name, so is He. Meaning, if His name is infinite and beyond any ability to comprehend, so how much more so He Himself, that His name is a mere ray, a mere extension. It's a mere, your name, right? There's your name, Nathan, right? But is that you? No, your name is how you relate to outside of you. Unless you're a real weirdo, you don't walk around your house going, what shall Nathan do now? I think Nathan will this. I think Nathan will that. Like,
and a buddy named Willie Shakespeare. He used to write like that.
Yeah.
Third person.
Right? You say, I will. Let me do this. Let me do that. You don't call yourself by your name. Your name is for somebody else outside of yourself. And just so His name is just a ray that's coming that He sends out to create worlds. And that ray is so infinite and so beyond anything and so beyond any comprehension, and that's just His name. So He Himself, how much more so? That Ein Lei Seif, He has no end, Vein Lei Tachlis, and He has no like limits. Rak Heidi al Eretz v'Geimer, but etc. But rather His ray is on the heavens and the earth. So he'll contemplate this kind of matter, which in other places he goes on in much more length about. He'll contemplate Malchus Kol Yolamim. A person will contemplate the idea that his kingship is the kingship of all the worlds. Shekol Yolamim, all the worlds, that their life force, their chayusam, their life force, kiyumam, their v'savusma and liyesh, and their creation and their being from nothing to something, is all from B'chinas Malchus Yisparach. It's only from His kingship. Which again, kingship is an outward thing, right? A king, he gives all the people receive. The people don't receive the king. For example, when the king is the king of the whole land, he doesn't take a steamroller and stretch himself real thin and then like put himself on the land. He's in one place, but his command goes out on the land, and that's why. And the people call him their king. And why is he their king? Because they abide by his command. This command is not only that, it's even more so. It's not even like His name. This command is a completely, once He's uttered the words, they're completely, if they put down His thing, that piece of paper is a completely separate thing from Him. Now obviously by God it doesn't work that way, because there is nothing separate from Him. So even His command is part of Him as well. In other words, when it says it's the way He relates something outside of Himself, that thing outside of Himself is in Himself too. So Shehi B'chinas Ha'ara Ba'alma, which is just a mere ray, Ispashus L'Zulasi is spreading out to another, Shein Ligelatz Musay Muhusi Kaviyachal, which it's interesting, use the word Kaviyachal, as if to say, as if, is not, it doesn't affect his essence and self, but rather it's just something He's spreading out to something other. The reason He uses the word as if is because, like we just said, there is nothing outside of Himself. So you can't actually say that it's something He's spreading outside of Himself, because there is nothing outside of Himself. Ki Yehu Kadosh Muvdal, because He is exalted and separated Miged Kol Almin from any categorization of the worlds. Not the light that fills the worlds, and then we know there's a light that's higher than even filling the worlds. That a light that's so high that it doesn't enter the vessels of the worlds, it rather influences in a surrounding sort of way. And even that is nothing to Him. Even these surrounding lights, which seem like they're so great and so, they're also nothing compared to Him. Asher al Kain, that when a person contemplates these sorts of ideas, meaning when you contemplate the ideas in the Torah, the ideas of Kabbalah and Chassidus, So then I'll take the chalav six of nash the kol the bottom and tziyusei. Then a person he will pine and desire and yearn to be completely included and to be completely nullified in the being of God Himself. That has no beginning and end. Now he just right here he just switched back to the angels, and therefore they are burning like the vision of torches, which is he's taking those words directly from Ezekiel, that they're burning like the vision of torches. In this great desire. So what happens? Now, interestingly, he just described for us this idea by man.
Where in Ezekiel does it talk about torches?
Actually, interestingly, I believe it's in the Haftarah for Shavuos, which is why it's connected with this. It's the Haftarah for Shavuos, the day we receive the Torah.
Ooh.
Because that's the connection of them and us.
Very relevant.
So he's talking about the vision of the angels, but really he's talking about our divine service.
Ooh.
So
Amazing.
anyway. So that the human service is the divine service of a human is that our job down here on earth, and like it says in the times of Mashiach, is that all the world, like the Rambam says, right? Maimonides says that right in the end, he says that, and it will be the whole world, the entire world will fill with the knowledge of God, and the entire world, their business, what they're doing all day is going to be only involved in the study and knowing of God Almighty. So this is when we do this, when we sit, that's our job. That's why we're here on this earth. We're here to contemplate His greatness, and when we contemplate His greatness, we're filled with a great desire to be included in Him, to be just totally included in Him. So the angels have the same thing. The angels also. Now, there's a big difference, like we spoke about last time, there's a big difference between the divine service of the angels and the divine service of a human. The big difference is choice. The angels, every single one of the angels is doing this. Why? Because they have no choice. So that's the difference. So it sounds like these angels are so amazing and so great and wow, they're constantly involved in this. They don't have a choice. They don't have free choice.
Yes.
God hasn't hidden themselves from them like He hid Himself from us, that we should have to go find Him and realize this, and then of our choice go and do this. There's a big difference there. So the angels, when they sense they sense the revelation of God, when the revelation of God comes, they become so fired up that they want to be included in. Like, what does a fire do? A fire always goes up, wants to be included in its source. So they become like burning with fire, and they want to be included in Him. Because she is going amongst again he's going back into the wording from Ezekiel. Because she is going between these angels called the chayos, which means like animals or the wild ones or the meaning that their life force, he misaleches tamid, is always going among them. Meaning what happens is that what's their life force? Their life force is the Shekhinah, the divine presence. That's the life force of these angels. And they want to be connected to the Shekhinah. They're burning to be included in her. They have a huge desire just to be included in her. And then they realize that the Shekhinah itself is not actually the be-all end-all. The Shekhinah itself is trying to be included in its life force in God alone. But yet the angels, they can't understand. They don't have, just like we have no comprehension of God, so too the angels have no comprehension of God. All they know is that their life force, this thing that they were trying to be part of, now they realize is just trying to be part of a God that's much higher than all of that. To be at a level of that you should cleave to your husband, that a woman should cleave to her husband, meaning the Shekhinah will cleave to which the Shekhinah is a feminine form. It's the Malchus of Atzilus, right? It's the kingship of Atzilus. and it's the feminine part of Atzilus, and therefore it wants to cleave up to Chachma of Atzilus, to the top of Atzilus, which is the masculine part. Libatel v'likol b'ayin soif, that it wants to just be completely nullified and included in the light of the Infinite One, blessed be. Notice, not even in the Infinite One, blessed be, but in the light of the Infinite One, blessed be. The Shekhinah wants to be included in the Ein Sof. And the angels who have essentially been burning to be included in the Shekhinah now realize that the Shekhinah itself is burning to be included in the Ein Sof. And this Ein Sof is so far beyond anything they can fathom or anything it's like they just, that's why they burn up like torches.
Well, it says like, what was it? The time to come, like even when the time does come, the angels themselves will, be worried and say, Judgment Day has come. So it's like, why do the angels have to fear? But apparently they have a lot to worry about that. Even though they apparently
they're worried. They're not
will.
worried. Not worried for them. They're worried for all because their job is to worry about everything under them.
Really? I thought they don't care about us.
So the angels, the angels all have. The angels all have. So, for example, you have that the angel. There's the 7 angels that split into 10, and that's the 70 nations. Mm-hmm. Is each of them is on top of 10 other ones, and then those 10 are on top of different nations.
Mm. What was it? What was it? Sal apparently had for their angel, what was it Satan or something like that for their angel.
They all have certain angels.
Yaakov fought,
Well, it wasn't. It was Esav's angel, and not only that, it wasn't Esav's angel. Wasn't there's nothing bad about Esav's angel. Esav's angel has its job, and in fact, what was the reason that it asked him to to be let go?
It had to go right.
It was its turn to go up and do the divine service. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't an evil angel.
It was doing what it was supposed to do.
In fact, there's no such thing as an evil angel. Mm-hmm. An angel can't be evil.
It does what it's supposed to do.
Every angel does what it's supposed to do. And there's only one thing that can be evil. That's a human.
Really?
We have the very unique and special ability that we have the ability to be evil.
Oh no!
That's something that is uniquely part of the human situation. Yeah. Oh, you were saying something.
This one?
Yeah. Anyway,
I was saying, are we gonna get that? Are we gonna get the above the Orient Sof? We're gonna get that?
Probably. Well, we already started with that before.
Was it like the end of times will be higher than angels eventually or something like that?
Well, I would hope so.
Well,
that in the time to come.
I'll tell you a little thing that it talks about, that it says about in times to come. It says that the angels will see a Jew and they will start saying holy, holy, holy.
Ooh.
Because the connection is going to then be complete between the Jew and the Torah and God. Because at that point, the Jews will cleave completely to the Torah. Which even now, I would imagine they do that with the righteous people. But then everybody will be completely connected, and they won't have this.
All the Jews.
So therefore, it says that they will say holy, 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 because the angels will not be able to differentiate between God and a Jew. That's how close it's going to be.
Ooh.
That the angels, when they see the Jew, they're going to think they're having a revelation of God.
That's quite a level of closeness.
God or of the Shekhinah?
They don't know God. They just know. That's the whole point. They don't know God. And since you just hit it on the head, that's why. What is their revelation of it? The Shekhinah. What other name is the Shekhinah known as? Yes, very good. The lower mother, yeah. But also it's called Knesset Yisrael. So the soul.
What is it? What you say?
Knesset Yisrael.
What's that mean?
Means like the congregation of Israel, but it means there is a place which is the birthplace of all the Jewish souls, where all the Jewish souls are actually one soul. So in fact, that's why by the giving of the Torah, it says and they came to the mountain, and then it says and he stood at the bottom of the mountain, singular. right? And Rashi explains ki ish echad b'leiv echad, like one man with one heart. But the Chassidic explanation,
we accepted
the
the Torah
Chassidic
with one heart.
explanation, yeah, but the Chassidic explanation is that they were brought up to this level of Knesset Yisrael where we truly are just one soul. There's no separate
I
soul.
saw this picture from the Temple Institute. They put out like things about the Parsha and everything. It's like the camp of Israel. Like we were just camping together in the desert. Like you know how fun it is to camp with
We're
like,
camping.
your friends. Like we were camping. With
Yeah, but can you
God
imagine
and the
if you think
thing, like,
if you think Burning Man is a big is a big thing?
Oh.
Okay, if you think Burning Man is
Burning
something,
bush is-
imagine burning Sinai. Okay, he set a whole mountain on fire, and there was by the way 600,000 was just the men aged between what 20 and 50.
60.
60.
60 or 50.
So there was actually a few million. Imagine a few million people.
Sounds like a Shabbat.
Burning Man ain't nothing.
And God is like,
And God is coming down on this mountain,
and you have
and it's
Moses
like,
with the 12 amos tall. Just
Yeah.
doing this thing,
And so
like,
what it means like the angel fight with a human if we think about is the galus of the Shechina, so it's a little bit weird.
but that's a different mimer.
Yeah, they want to fight the God.
Where's everybody else?
How do you
He
define
didn't
it?
find an angel.
How do you find
I'm just
it?
out
What
of
was it? They were
curiosity.
equally
Well, it says
like
that,
you know
Because it wasn't actually the angel. It was basically remember the Jewish people don't have an
No,
angel.
but
Everybody
they
knew
say
God.
that
How do you
Yeah.
find
I'm saying the Jewish people don't have an angel.
it's God revelation.
That's talking to the
No.
Jews.
Fighting.
No, there are
Whatever-
70
what's everybody
angels.
else.
Well, that's what Israel means a little bit.
In other words, those are the nation angels, the Sar,
Israel means
the
like
officers,
the struggle
the
with
70
the
of them.
divine, right?
When God was talking
Okay,
to
maybe.
the Jews, what was everybody else doing?
I don't know. That's what it means, right?
What was everybody else
Israel,
doing?
like a struggle.
They were probably the same thing as now. They were trying to come up with with legislation to stop them from doing this crazy
That's
thing
what
out in the
happened with
woods.
Yaakov.
So then
When
after
he
that
fought
happened,
by the river.
that's when
Well, that is actually when anti-Semitism
What?
started.
Yeah.
By Sinai.
It was by that mountain.
Why is it called Sinai? Because the
It's
word
actually
What
called
was it that-
hate. The word
Okay,
Sinai
so
means
is this
hate.
were you
supposed to-
saying?
is this something that is
Yeah,
a
so
future
there is
event,
explanation,
or is this
like
a
the-
past event?
The Torah
what
being
was it?
given?
Because,
Well, what
Yaakov
we're
Yes.
talking about.
fought with the
Yes.
angel.
That's a past event?
What
No,
was
it's
it?
both.
They
It's
fought
yes.
until
It's
morning,
both.
It's
and then,
something that
they
happened
were
but
equally
continues.
matched
In
until
other
the
words, he's
angel
giving us the
touched
Torah
Yaakov's hip.
at
And,
every moment, but
so it's kind of
specifically on Shavuot at its
like
strongest.
a cheat in a way.
So that's why we're
Like,
that's
you
why
know,
we're
like
learning
they're
this.
equally
It's not
matched
because we're
until
talking
they
about something
touch
that
the
happened, but we're learning this
So,
at preparing ourselves
No, it's only
for
after
Shavuot's
Yaakov.
coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where when we
Yaakov
read
won.
this from the Torah,
And
that's
then, like,
actually
you know, the
God
angel's
is
like,
even
okay,
even
now
though
I'm
even
gonna
though
touch
there's
your head.
the reader who's reading
the whole time
it.
he's fighting for
But it's
him.
actually God speaks through His mouth. It's really these are the words that God is, and He is actually giving us the Torah.
Leave
This
the
should,
Jewishness alone.
this should.
Forget about it.
He gives it to us every day in essence, in every
fighting the whole
moment.
night.
Yeah.
At every
Nice
moment,
fellas.
He gives it to us, and we have the opportunity to receive it. On Shavuos, it's like they're in a greater, more powerful way that it's easier for us to. It's made easier for us to receive it and accept it.
You gotta sip and hurt him.
But technically, it's not just on Shavuos.
Oh, this
But we
is the
still
holiday
keep
coming
that,
up.
you know,
Yeah.
to the
mitzvah.
day.
Not-
So
not this
it's only
weekend.
the
Between when the
active
Jews
nerve.
left
Right,
Egypt,
the sciatic nerve. We don't
which
need
was
to,
Passover.
because of that mitzvah.
and then there's
So
7
if
weeks.
the angel only
You
knew
count
that because
7
of
weeks
what he
and
did, we got
7,
an extra mitzvah.
49
would have done it.
Oh, we
So-
got
and
extra
that
mitzvah
leads
for
up
his
to every day you
Exactly.
refine a
Ooh,
certain part of
never
the
was
That's
that.
very
How do you
interesting.
know?
a certain part of the elements in you
Does that make
we're talking
sense?
about, the spheros, the
So,
emotional
Roman,
attributes.
how do we
in
define
there.
nature?
You refine them.
It's
God
not
refined
enough
them.
to
Then you
show some
grow
kind of
up to
energy
get
thing.
How do we refine nature?
to
Yeah,
on the highest
That's
level.
by that's through the Torah. Only we can do that through the Torah.
Yes.
So Abraham couldn't do
And
that. Anyway,
so she
continuing.
went to school, and at school, she had to try getting her to write on Shabbos.
Oh.
Every week was a
Uh-huh.
struggle.
So so that's the ratzu. Is this desire, this extreme desire to be connected to. Oh, and by the way, just what you were saying. That's why, because Knesset Yisrael is the Shekhinah. That's what we just said. Is what do the angels do? The angels don't see the infinite one.
9%.
The angels, they don't see the infinite. They see their life force, which is the Shekhinah, which is the same as that unified Jewish soul.
Oh, it's a
They're
mazel
seeing
tov.
it. They're realizing, and they realize it's their life force, and they realize that the Shekhinah is only is only going up itself to be included in God.
seeing
So when they see they're sensing they're getting a revelation of the Shekhinah. Well, because the way you reveal it to them is the Shekhinah. But when Mashiach comes, we will return to be connected. In other words, we will be right now. There still is that unified soul. We all have it.
So,
we're all part of it. But we don't realize it because that's what we're trying to get. We're trying to get to a point where we really see the oneness of all of it. We really see the oneness. And we take care of love.
Good night.
And we
All
see.
the best.
Rafael, next week we'll be off. Well, it's the night before Shavuos, but I think I'm already going to be traveling that night.
Okay, I understand.
But then the following week, we'll probably start Va'ata Tetzava, which was being that Gimmel Tammuz is coming up. So the last mimer the Rebbe gave out that he published was Va'ata Tetzava, and it's also the whole idea of it is what does a Rebbe is quite fittingly is what does a Rebbe mean and what does it mean to connect to a Rebbe and what's that?
We'll have a share.
Yeah, so the following week after Shavuos, that Wednesday night, we will, and I think we'll start V'ata Tetzava then.
Okay.
That's probably a good time to start it. We always think like, but all of a sudden it's approaches like a week later, like, oh, we got it.
That's why
Have a little foresight.
And it's not perfect.
What's the connection of the Tetzaveh and Gimmel Tammuz?
That's the mimer that just like we learned Basi Lagani by the previous Rebbe, we learned V'ata Tetzava by the Rebbe. And furthermore, just so happens to be, it's all about what does it mean to be. What does the Rebbe mean, and what is the connection to the Rebbe mean?
It's all about Gimmel Tammuz.
Remember who the Rebbe was?
Gimmel Tammuz.
This is the last of the
Rebbe
Torah.
was the leader of the Chabad.
That's the Rebbe over there, on the left side.
Yeah, he was the leader.
And the
So
right
there
side
were
is the
7
first one.
Lubavitcher Rebbes. You know who Lubavitch is? You ever hear of Lubavitch or Chabad? So Chabad, Chabad on campus, Chabad. So that's Lubavitch. It stands for Chachma Bina Das, wisdom, intellect, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge.
Good beer boxing.
And so that Rebbe, he was like the last of a dynasty. From starting with the one on the right, who's the Alter Rebbe, who we're learning from right now.
What days are you in?
He lived like 200 years ago.
Both of the ends are
Tuesdays and Thursdays?
Just Wednesday.
The Alter Rebbe
Wednesdays.
lived how long ago? Like 250 years ago? 200 years
Here,
ago?
Sam, give me that one. I'll take responsibility for it.
I don't take responsibility for you.
That's a whole different story.
The Alter Rebbe was the first one.
Yeah, which is the one on the
Who's
right.
on the right. Who is what we're learning from right now. It's his words. And he is a mega genius, a mega holy person. And the person on the left is also a mega genius, a mega holy person. And so we're learning the last one on the left, he's responsible for the Chabads being all over the world and for all the teaching and the connection and the outreach for the Jewish people and for spreading the knowledge of God around the world. So he is responsible for a great deal of that.
Anyways,
Yeah, these are good.
So he's the one. He passed like 30 years ago, something like that. 26 years ago, 27, 28 years ago.
more. No?
28 years ago, I think. Yeah, 28 years ago.
Yeah?
1990.
What?
23 years ago.
Beat it.
Yeah, so yeah.
1994.
Yeah, you're right. 1994, yeah. Yeah, sorry. 1994. It's the same.
So it's 29 years old.
He passed the
That'd be
day after my parents got married. Yeah.
Because once we knew Nathan was going to be around, we were okay.
Yeah, good.
Nathan, I feel you. My birthday was on the day that the Rebbe became the Rebbe. Sometime in January 15th or something.
Yud Shvat.
Yes, Yud Shvat. That's my birthday.
Wow.
That's my Hebrew birthday, not my normal birthday.
You're a day before Shui. My son Shui is the 11th of Shvat.
Oh, so it's like, oh, what's up with that?
No,
Oh.
makes sense.
So,
Anyways, then what happens?
Sense. Oh.
What happens then is they have a burning desire. They have a burning desire, burning desire.
Wait, you get a hug.
Yeah, of course he gets a hug.
And it became,
Oh, there's so much you can
career.
say. First of all, just your presence.
Yeah.
Oh. Second of all, you're doing.
Yeah, he's
and
gotta
also
get it
third
early.
of all, the shawarma that you brought.
Chaim,
Thank you for making it. You helped bring the Fabregan. Not just your presence, but also that,
My other presents, ones with a TS.
Moses, you helped bring people.
Chaim. Rabbi
You
Iken.
only do Wednesday now?
So you're here for the summer or you're out of town?
For the summer, I'm probably gonna be traveling like a week or two, but I'm here for most of it.
So what are you doing this summer?
I'm just working odds and
Bacon
ends.
challah.
I'm trying to bake I'm trying to make these bagels again. I'm trying to get out of.
I'm looking forward to that.
Smokey's kitchen. We'll see. But,
And by the way,
If you need a machine,
That's what he thinks you're doing.
for you.
that's what he thinks you're doing. But we're gonna actually grab him. We're gonna tie him up.
Moses, it depends what Shmuel, because it's tough.
We're gonna tie him up and throw him in the back of a minivan.
Toasty?
And then we're
Not bad at all.
gonna and then when he wakes up, he'll be in YY's room without.
Oh, it's year of Hakel, so this year, no excuses.
Because of the colors or because of
The colors, yeah. If there's no excuse. Toasty.
I mean, it's Hakel here. I'm saying,
little bit or
First of all,
little
Mashiach's
bit like
not waiting for
the
that.
by
That's what
Starbucks
we're
coffee.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. And anyways, here it's
Starbucks
Hakel
is
here.
good, man.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah, we have the cold one.
So then what
Great to
happens
see you tonight.
after they go
So
up
happy that we got this
and they have this burning desire?
Rabbi.
couple. I don't get my couple fixed at least 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's that. No, that you know why? That's because you need your. That's because you need your couple fixed. Every once in a while, we have to get our couple fixed.
I'm
couple
at
of
that
times.
stage where I'm between like the 3 times a week and like reaching up to doing it almost every day. Right now I'm still the 3 times a week.
Maybe
so. But I'm gonna couple fix.
Nice
that
meeting
is-
you.
Huh?
Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
That's the problem. The problem with couples, he's addicted. It's like cocaine. It's cocaine. You keep needing more.
Oh, but the question is too much a bad thing? Who knows? All the best.
No,
Good to see you.
no one's overdosed yet. So.
Oh, exactly. You can't overdose on couple.
I've done over 400 bar mitzvahs, and I never
Wow.
any of this
Amazing.
Heavy numbers.
as an MC
No, I love that.
from Chicago.
That's
Chicago.
big
So
That's really cool.
should have learned a lot of this beforehand.
Should have. You're learning right now.
No, obviously not.
No, you
Because
need it for what's coming, though.
if you should have, he would have put it in front of you to do it.
Yes, yeah. Well, you put it in front of me now.
Yeah, that's because that's when he wanted you to do it.
It's here. It's in front of you now.
Well, he
That's what
brought
matters.
Nathan. He brought Nathan.
Yep.
That was it.
No, you
My
don't
path.
even, the story,
Nathan,
man,
a
it's like a
beautiful
real
blessing.
story. It's a real story. I was standing at the corner by Pitt, ready to cross, waiting for the light, and this guy comes up. He taps me on the shoulder. He says, "What are these called?" So I said, "Tzitzis," and we got to talking.
And that was it.
was
The rest
it.
is history.
History.
That was it. He was his daughter.
By the way,
His daughter got him. He's retired. He's veteran. His daughter got him to go get people to register to vote. So instead of walking around, he set up camp at the corner of what's the one?
Forbes and Shenley.
Forbes
Yeah, like by Bigelow over there.
Bigelow.
Bigelow.
Yeah.
I know. You know why? Because that's the same place that we set up to put film up
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
The same place.
Bigelow and Shenley.
Yeah,
I mean, you
like
hear that.
You've seen that 100,000 times.
That's why I started bringing music because I got tired of hearing that cross at
Bigelow.
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 And Shenley.
Getting people to vote. So a few times.
Very real.
Oh my God! It was terrible.
So a few times.
We're there.
I started talking. We spoke a little bit, vibing out. DJ, he's DJing. He's telling me, he's doing the DJ thing, and like I'm doing the music thing, and like this and that, and like we're getting doing the internship and everything. It's just, it's an outgrowth. Like Shem set it up.
And then he brought me here, and I'm enjoying this.
By the way,
We're
that's
enjoying you
how,
being here.
that's how God writes
This
jokes.
story was recently?
Yeah.
Yes, this is
That's how he writes
this is
jokes.
the story,
Yeah.
pretty much.
No, when it
Oh, within the last 6 months.
This was like
Six
just a
months.
few months ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we kept, we just kept up.
Yeah.
So the desire, there's this burning desire. That's the fire, both by the angels as well as by our divine service, as well as like we said before, when it says that Abraham, he had this divine service in order to become the level of a chariot. So then what happens? B'china shuv, and but after that, him b'china shuv. These angels. Now he goes to switching back to talking about the angels. The angels, they come back down. They come like it says that if your heart races, return to one. Which, by the way, the reason it's one of the things we learned from Shuv Le'echad, that return to one, is that you might think that it's a bad thing. Like, oh, you have desire, you're excited, and then there's like the settling down of it. And oh, that's bad, right? Like it's the good is the excitement, and the bad is no. The Shuv is also Le'echad, it's to one. Return to one. It's part of the necessary service. You know, just it's the same thing. For example, in life, there's the parts that are exciting, and by the way, this is the problem. The problem with societies now is the problem with societies now is they think that they have to have the excitement. Rabbi Dr. Tursky, Rabbi Abram Tursky once, he was very big in spreading the 12-step program.
No, what was it? I was at Rabbi Weinstein and his wife's classes on Pitt.
Yeah.
I have his book with peanuts in it.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember one of the things he said is one of the reasons that in the Western world, not just drug, not just any kind of addiction. Yeah. The one of the main things behind addiction is this idea that you have to be happy all the time and excited all the time, which is not a natural thing. And therefore, if you're not happy, I need something to stimulate that happiness. So for example, like the example he uses, if somebody dies that's close to you, well, guess what? You're supposed to be not happy. Naturally, you're supposed to be not happy. You're supposed to grieve that. So somebody who thinks that he should be happy in that situation, now you got a problem. And since obviously the natural chemicals that your body is putting off in that situation are not happy chemicals, the same thing. If you're in a lousy situation, I mean, yes, obviously we look for joy in every situation, but ultimately you have to have a recognition of, you know what, this is not a good situation. This situation sucks. Right? Like, not only that, that's the only way you're going to get out of such a situation, if you have that realization of, you know what, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this feeling. Now I can start working to get out of it. Whereas when you want an instant override, so that's all kinds of addictions come from that. So excitement isn't the end all be all, but part of divine service is also the going down. So what's this shuv? What is this returning? This comes from the element of water. The ratzu comes from the element of fire, the excitement. This comes from the water.
What's wind? What's that?
Here, there's just fire and water for now. That's a different thing. Wine is probably a subclass of water, but it talks about, for example, the Torah is equated to water, is equated to fire, to water, is equated to wine, is equated to oil, is equated to milk.
I said wind.
And these are all different aspects of the Torah.
I said wind.
Oh, wind.
I just learned that.
It's a different story.
Tonight,
Different thing. That's not part of the Rotz of a Shuv.
Mashiach ben David is wind.
Yeah, but the Rotz of a Shuv is you know what happens with wind?
What?
Wind can change the nature of water, both water and fire. Wind, depending on its nature and its strength and different things, it can put a fire out. It can also make a fire much bigger.
Even worse.
Can do
Same
both
thing
of
with
those
water.
things. Yeah. So these all elements, dirt, the same thing.
I would say wind is more dangerous than fire or water.
Oh yeah. Especially when it comes out of a person.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Although when the fire comes out of a person, that ain't great either.
That ain't either.
Anyway.
It's like Tijuana or something.
So what is this coming down? It comes from water, which is in the mind, which is Chachma. The intellect, in this case, I think yeah, chachma. You can say they just have it. And it means also the intellect in general. But yeah, the chachma is the point at which the brain connects to the thought, which is higher than the brain. That this is one of the things that thought is actually something that is, again, this doesn't mean it's godly, but it's spiritual. Meaning thought has. This is one of the things that science struggles with, is because they can only understand thought as it relates to time and space. And therefore they can only relate to thought as it is in the brain of a human, and they can only relate to thought as being my thought, and then because I transmitted it to you, it's still there. Because now you might be teaching the same thing, and with science they don't realize that thought is actually in a sense independent of us. That when you put a thought out there, thoughts are things. A thought can be completely independent of a human brain. And the proof is that, well, how did the thought enter the brain in the first place? At some point, the thought had to enter a brain, right? In other words, you say, oh, so Einstein, his thoughts, the only reason they continue is because I read his book, and while he was alive, he was able to transmit it. Really, how did it get to his brain? So you can say that some of it was from other places, but ultimately he had thoughts that were new thoughts down here.
Yeah.
So the thought is something that comes from higher than the human, than the human experience.
For example, you thought to come ask me what these are called. God gave you that thought, I believe. Yeah.
It's a Chassidic to be able to go like with tzitzis outside. So even me that I lived in Israel, so I remember that just in the army, and I still didn't understand, maybe just now I understand, but 50% of my friends in the army, they were religion people. And
They didn't have to just.
no, so and one time that we got out from the bathroom, so my friend, she got out like that, like outside, like without any shirt on it.
Uniform of the day.
So I asked him what is it? So he told me it's a religion thing. It's like I didn't know.
Wow.
And
Just growing up in
telling
Israel.
you, like I'm talking about like 50%. We were like. I think in my team we were maybe 30, so more than 15 were religion people. Like now.
So you served.
Yeah.
In Israel.
Yes. I have another friend that did that. Female. She was part of our bar mitzvah crew. But she said when she turns 18, she was going, and she served. She's an amazing person, but. I was wondering about that. So, like, want to go to Israel.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine who's Greek and was born there, never came back for years and years and years, and then decided to want to go on vacation. Got off the plane. They came and got him. He had to serve in the military. That was it. He didn't have a choice. That wasn't, but it's not mandatory, right?
It is.
Yeah, it's mandatory.
If you're a citizen.
You're a citizen, but you're not a citizen. So you're citizen.
Yeah.
But most people aren't necessarily running away from
If
it.
I served here, but I didn't have those.
Yeah.
What branch do you serve in?
Army. I did it because I was a first generation American.
He's in the same branch as my brother.
Oh yeah. Your brother's a man.
Levi was always Army. It was the PSYOPs. Psychological
Yeah,
operations.
PSYOPs. Both MI.
Yeah.
Military
he
intelligence.
was
I was in JAG. So JAG, usually those two are in the same building. Normally.
What's JAG stand for?
It's the judicial system or
It's like the yeah.
judicial and
And
general.
it's about the lawyers,
He's a
and the court
sergeant.
marshals, and all
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
He's a sergeant.
Everything. There's a lot of sergeants. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like I get it. So I was wondering because you seem to have that demeanor.
What?
You can tell when somebody serves.
Yeah, he looks.
Yeah.
He talks quietly, but if you start up with him, he'll kill you. That's you can
It's a
tell.
demeanor. It's I don't know. It's weird. Like,
There's a-
you can tell when somebody
Yeah.
was part of an organized something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's why he makes a good chassid. You know.
What did you do in the army?
I was a fighter.
Yeah. But help me out.
If he told you not to kill you.
What's the I can't think of the name of them. You know, Israeli army is considered to be. I mean, like, gets the respect of most military. That means your special forces are out of control.
We don't. We
So I think
need
part
to
of
take
it.
it seriously. You know?
You know what it is. No, well, no, you know why it is really. If well, it's real simple. If they don't do their jobs right, their country's gone.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It's not, you know.
Man, you see the maps where it's like every Arab country surrounding Israel,
And then you have
as
this
far
little
as
tiny-
this little thing, and they were all trying to kill us in the
Seven- in the
6-day
70s,
war,
yeah.
the 7, you know,
Yeah. From 1950s to the 70s.
Yeah.
they were all trying to kill us.
Israel
and we
are
didn't.
good friends with
We
the
ran.
with the US, but
We
we
conquered.
don't want to rely on them. You know.
No,
Well, because you can't because you never know.
because it's 12 hours.
Not that
away.
you can't and you can't rely on the political shifts here.
Yeah.
And when they will help you, when they won't help you, when they're gonna wait, when they
When
can't
they're gonna
afford
turn their ships
no,
around and go back to
or when they can't afford to help you because by helping you now they're doing it's raising their stakes with the Russians, which they can't afford to do, or any other number of
it's
political
all
reasons.
about, but it's all money. It's all.
Yeah.
money.
It's all money.
I think power.
Well, money's power.
yeah,
I mean, it really is. Money is power.
yeah. It's the
Anyway,
one part.
so what actually happens if the angels is they have a desire to be closer to, they sense that their life force has a life force, and they get so excited they want to just be completely included in it. But then they reach a point, like it says, it's the chachma, which chachma comes from kayach ma, the power of what? Meaning ma pispasta ma yadata. What did you gain? What do you know? Meaning they're going higher and higher and getting higher revelations, right? And then they reach a point where with everything they know, all they've discovered is how far they are and how little they know. And they become so terrified of the greatness of God that they run away.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because first it's exciting. It's so he's so great, and they want to become closer and closer and closer. And then they come to like the ceiling of where they can reach. Like you imagine like Michael Jordan, and there's like the absolute top of his jump where like his fingers are at the highest point where they were during that jump. And the angels, they get up there and they're so, and all of a sudden they see that the only thing that was revealed to them is that God is so much greater than even that, that they then become terrified of his awesomeness, and they go back down. And this
That's
is
like the natural progression of omnipotence, that no matter how far you know or how far you get, there's always more there. There's always more there to
well,
go
not just
on and on.
well, not
And
just
that's
that.
the only way
It's
you
where
embrace
it's and, no,
infinity.
but even more that like what happens then is they jump again, they get even higher. The higher they get is just a bigger realization of how much even greater he is than what they realized on the last time, and therefore their fear becomes even greater also.
For me, it's
a bouncing back of love and fear, love and fear, love and fear.
It's the more Torah I study, the more I know that there's actually more Torah left to study.
Yeah.
So it's actually the more I learn, the less I realize I know.
Every time I see couple, I realize how great God is.
Oh, not worthy. Thank you, though.
Anyways, so v'zeshuv le'echad, this is return to one. Sha'shuvu gam kein b'chinas echad. That the returning is not a bad thing, but rather it's, in other words, the love of God and the fear of God are both healthy things. In fact, what happened to that's what happened to the two sons of Aaron, right? They desired only to be included in God, and they were, and they were. So, but meantime, the whole point is to serve him and bring him down here, to bring his revelation down here. The point isn't for us to have our own personal revelation. If you didn't bring that revelation down, and that's why we have different things. There's for example, there's the davening and the learning of Torah, and then we have to go out and actually change the world in palpable ways. So that stuff's hard.
Yeah, we did this.
Going and actually, going out and hitting the streets and talking to people about God, or uplifting people, or people who are in a bad situation and going out and encouraging them. It sounds great, but the problem is to encourage them. You have to first. You can't encourage somebody from up there. You have to get down into their situation with them and encourage them from in there. That can be very taxing. It's not fun. But that's God's work. God's work isn't just it's very nice. We're here. We have, thank God, we have some l'chaim over here.
Yeah. L'chaim.
And it's great. And we're thank God we're here, healthy, discussing, talking about the glory of God, and it's exciting. But you know what? There's somebody out there who doesn't have that. And there's somebody out there who needs it. So for us to be in here, while that's exciting, and not only is it exciting, it's necessary. It's necessary. It's not that we shouldn't be here doing this. It's that us being up here and getting this excitement among ourselves, but that's for the purpose of now go bring it to somebody outside who doesn't have that. You need the shuv. The shuv is important. Now it's true. It's true. Without the ratzu, there's nowhere to shuv from. The ratzu is where you go and where you draw from, but now you're drawing it down. You're doing what with it? Oh, great, you got excited. What do we do with that? If we didn't get somebody else excited about him, and not only that, especially since we know that our job is to fix the world.
Yeah.
Well, the only way we can fix the world is the first thing you have to do is, if you're going to go fix a car, right? You know what you have to do?
You gotta
Read the shop manual.
Gotta make sure you got.
Well, you have to know what the finished product is supposed to be like first, right?
Yeah.
Then you can say, okay, well, that's here, and we're holding here. We got to get it from here to there. But if you don't know where there is, you ain't fixing nothing.
What the diagram?
Okay, can I tell you? Do you know where there is?
$500. I'll tell you.
Where there is that every single human being. There is that every single human being will know the one true God who took the Jewish people out of Egypt and who gave the Torah, and not only that, but created every single human being to serve Him. And by the way, the truth is, people who say, oh, they because they love everybody and that's why they and it's true. By the way, you could have tolerance and truth at the same time. I'll give you a perfect example.
I was just thinking about that.
I'll give you a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
So homosexuality is wrong. Why? Not because I think one way or the other about it. Because God says.
Just saw this.
By the way, here's and it's funny, of course, because now you're the leftist world will say, oh, see, that's the problem. Orthodox Judaism, they're just like organized religion and blah blah. No, but here's the thing.
To do what they're gonna do.
No, but here's the thing. By the way, I remember there was a lesbian coworker of mine, years ago, had asked me this. She wanted to know what the issue. How do we really view? So, I told her that our belief is that God came and gave us the Torah, and therefore everything in the Torah is true, and in the Torah it says that it's wrong.
That's a pretty good way of putting it.
Okay, that's what the Torah says. So therefore, I believe that it's wrong. I said, now to put that in perspective, I also believe that a Jew not keeping Shabbos is wrong. I love every Jew, whether they keep Shabbos or not. I have a brother. My brother was in the army. He doesn't keep Shabbos. I still love him. He's my brother. I said the same thing. I said our job is we're to love every human being, and not only that, we're to see the good in every human being. I said the fact that's the Sabbath, the Saturday, the Sabbath.
The Sabbath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so not okay.
Yeah, Friday night is Sabbath.
So I said the fact that
there's certain laws.
and the fact that a human being is doing something that God said is wrong, there's a difference between that and me hating that person. There's a big difference. In fact, by the way, when somebody comes to make the blessing by the Torah, right? So you know that homosexuality is wrong in Judaism, right? Okay, you know that a homosexual can get called up to the Torah with no problem.
Yeah,
You call him up. If a Jew comes in, he's a homosexual. So what?
Yeah,
he can get it called up to the Torah. Just like somebody who doesn't keep any of the other commands. Like me, myself. It says, do not gossip. Have you ever met me?
but if you
That's why I try to learn Torah all the time. The only way I can stop myself from gossiping is learn Torah all the time. If I stop learning Torah for a second, I'll start gossiping.
Nah, you don't
You know, but if you would say
No, you're right. I don't gossip, but you know who does?
I get everything. I get your point, and it's a good point.
Right, there's
You're not telling us
there's
that-
what's right. I'm not.
I
Not only that,
didn't say
I'm
you're
not telling.
evil.
I'm not telling you you're evil. I'm not telling you I don't accept you. I'm not telling you I don't love you. I'm not telling you. What I'm saying is that God said it's wrong. Just like I'm sure we can find plenty of things I'm doing not the way I could be doing them.
God's gonna sort everything
Right?
out.
It's more like a science, I guess.
Right
Well,
now,
you read the-
that's A. That's
Yeah,
A.
yeah.
And furthermore, if I'm telling somebody about it, looking to influence somebody in that matter, it's not because I hate them. It's because I love them. In fact, for example, when a Jew, you want a Jew, right? You want a Jew to have the best possible outcome, and therefore you try to influence them to keep the Torah, right? A non-Jew, why do you try to influence them in the seven laws, in the seven Noahide laws? It's not because I hate them and I want to judge you. No, it's because the same
Want the
thing.
best for them.
I want the best possible outcome for you. By the way, do you know that it's easier for a non-Jew to have a portion to what's it called? To have a portion. Well, essentially, the problem with Jews is they come from the world. They come from the world to come. So they always have a portion of the world to come.
Oh,
the only thing is you don't want them to fry
sacrifices.
first.
We can't
By
make
the way,
sacrifices.
a non-Jew can't. You know that it's a funny thing because non-Jews are worried about hell. They have nothing to worry about. A non-Jew can't go to hell. Only a Jew can go to hell.
What?
Yeah.
Since when?
Only a Jew can go to hell.
because
A non-Jew has two.
Christians. Well, I mean, if you want to,
no, Christians I'm about.
No, but
Christians
yeah.
automatically get forgiven. All you have to do is ask for it.
Well, no, it's different with I'll tell you, any,
Christians,
any,
yeah.
any non-Jew only has two possibilities.
In paradise.
No, they have either they have a portion in the world to come or they don't.
Stop existing.
If they keep the seven laws, which are a lot easier than our 613 laws,
That's what I was going to say. I thought.
all they have to do is keep their seven laws, and by the way, they have a portion in the world to come, and B, they come back when the dead arise. They come back just from doing their seven laws.
You said 600.
No, by us, we have to do 613.
613.
Now the problem is
Yeah.
the problem is that so there's a plus and a minus. The plus is a non-Jew can get his portion of the world to come a lot easier, right? They can get their portion of the world to come a lot easier. Yeah, the button on the side over there.
Thank you.
A non-Jew can get the portion easier, but he's not guaranteed of any portion at all unless he does the seven laws,
That's good.
right? It's got a little kick to it. So
It's spooky.
something like that. I'm
There's
trying to
so
remember
many
what it
things
is.
that a Jew could do.
It's
that
some
could,
kind of like a fairy
affect
thing or
us.
something.
Wow, that's
Okay, a Jew, by the way, a Jew always has a portion where he can't lose his portion of the world to come because he comes from the world to come. As a matter of fact, he's a messenger from
What
the
is
world.
that? But it
A
says
Jew
in
is
the
a
Gemara-
messenger from the world. Call Yisrael Yesh Tam Chelik Le'olam
Yeah,
Haba.
but it says also you can lose your chelik and all mal.
That's different. It's very hard to.
It's very hard to, but you
Very
still
hard
do
to.
it.
There's very few people who successfully did it,
But he didn't.
and even he didn't.
He didn't.
Even he
the
did.
world too.
Korah.
Yeah, but in other words,
Even-
wait. Do you know what we are? We're a messenger from the world to come.
Rabbi.
We're a messenger from the world to come to try to make sure everybody else
Everybody
comes to the
else.
world to come.
I agree.
The problem is when we mess up, we have to go through a real bad washing machine
Brutal.
to recycle us and send us back down here to do our mission
Rabbi,
again.
how do you?
But no, by the way, but Gentiles will never have to go through that washing machine.
Rabbi.
It's either they've connected themselves to God and they have, which in a way it's almost that and that's where Christianity gets the idea from, of this idea of either just being saved or not being saved. If you do the seven mitzvahs that God commanded, they get the world to come. By us, not only that, even if we did almost
Seven good
perfect,
deeds.
even if we did almost perfect,
Ever hear of them? No?
even if we did almost perfect,
I have. I'm
We
putting
still
it
gotta
together
get
as we
washed.
speak because I've actually never sat.
yeah.
I never went
It's
to
a
a synagogue.
Farbrengen. It's a
Yeah,
Farbrengen.
and got to listen
Yeah.
to. I mean, like
The beauty is we do this every Wednesday night.
this is
And our
Like,
goal,
things are coming
and it's
together
funny.
that I'm understanding.
Our goal is actually not to bring all the Jews here. Our goal is to bring all the world here, to bring all them. Every human being can come. It's just God. It's God Almighty.
I definitely understand what you said when you're like Jews come from the world to come. It makes sense to me
To pull
because-
people into it.
because technically, like Christians believe that they're already things have already happened, while you're waiting. It's gonna happen.
We're waiting for it.
We're waiting.
Well,
Yeah.
and well,
So,
the
you're
logic
saying,
is
hey,
simple too.
No, That's just the beginning.
Yeah. So wait.
You think it's the end, but it's really the beginning. And you said something earlier, basically saying that it's cheating because you already know what was going to happen.
He already
before
knows it.
happened.
By the way, cheating for us also.
So you brought a full
No,
circle.
by the way, it's cheating for us also.
Yeah.
Because we have this passed down that God told Moses in person, in the presence of about 2 million people, and then He gave us these letters that have all the combinations, that have everything is going to happen. And what the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, what he was telling us is, don't waste a moment. What kind of person are you? There's how many billions of human beings in the world?
Take care of it now.
You can every human being of those human beings that you can show them how to make it to the world to come. And how to come back when the dead come back. You have an obligation. That's why you're here. That's why you're here. You're here to tell the world. If you're sitting here keeping it to yourself, why did you come here?
Bracha alert.
So great, you went here and so why did you come here? What was your point? You came here for nothing.
I need a bracha.
For what?
Mamish netzach in the morning. Like mamish, like netzach.
The bracha, I'll tell you. What we have to realize is that a Jew doesn't need the bracha; he is the bracha.
Okay,
I give you a bracha. That means a blessing.
Yeah.
That you should realize that's what God told Abraham, right? He says, "V'heyei bracha," and you will be a blessing. I give you a blessing as that the children of Abraham. Their job is to be a blessing. Be a blessing to everybody you encounter. That's our job. And this is the reason, by the way, why it says, right, that those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you will be cursed. Because you are the actual blessing. You're not the blessing. He doesn't tell Abraham you are the blesser. He says you will be a blessing.
Wow.
You are the blessing.
Facts.
The blessing is in you.
Wow.
So you don't need a blessing. You need to go be a blessing. You need to go be a blessing to people. And how do you be a blessing to people? By telling them God is talking to you personally, and He's telling you to keep these 7 commandments. And if you keep those 7 commandments, you get yourself your place in the world to come, and you get yourself eternal life.
Let's go.
It's a funny thing because like there's even Jews sometimes they hear you say eternal life, they look at you almost like you're saying a Christian concept. Where do you think they got the concept from? No, there is a concept of eternal life, and our job is to help all of humanity get eternal life.
Let's do it. Let's get it.
And by the way, no, it doesn't sound Christian. The Christians sound me-ish.
Let's get it.
I don't sound like them. They sound like me. You know.
Let's get it.
You know what it's like. It's like you have all these guys who they do their imitation of Christopher Walken,
Yeah.
Anyways, it's like somebody will like one day somebody will bump into Christopher Christopher Walken, right? And it'll be like, how you doing? It's I thought it. You'd be like, you know what? You sound exactly like those Christopher Walken guys who do that. No, he's the guy. You're like, it's the same thing.
Christopher Walken. He's the one that's Jewish. He's the one.
No,
Christopher, the guy from Inglourious Bastards. He's Jewish. You know that?
To me, I think of Christopher Walken. I think of Deer Hunter.
Christoph.
Deer Hunter.
When I think of Christopher Walken, I think of the Fat Boy Slim music video.
My friend's sister. They were roommates in seminary. They were roommates.
Anyway,
that's what I'm thinking about.
Wait, but how do you explain? Why is it some Jews? I've heard from a rabbi, Korach, he's gone. He's gone. But then I've heard from you also that Korach. I've heard from other people also in the Hayom Yom or whatever it was that even Korach, we're gonna get Korach back.
well, I mean, so he's just because he's gone, it don't mean we can't get him back from there.
But also, what about so maybe not
his sons? His sons actually did tshuva.
But so through his
at the
sons
last
did
moment,
tshuva.
they.
Yeah.
But by the way, what's surprising is his sons did tshuva,
Tshuva is to
Also,
return to
he
They
God.
repented. The sons of Korah.
To return to God.
So you're talking about a person who
כוח עצמו לא עשה תשובה?
Yeah, he was in the time of the
His
Torah.
sons
He came
did, yeah.
against Moses.
No, he didn't
He came
die.
against Moses.
He
was
went down
arguing
alive.
against Moses, trying to tell Moses that
He went
really
down
he
alive,
should have
and he's still alive down there.
המשפחה שלו,
the
הוא
Kohen.
והמשפחה
He
שלו.
didn't
like,
die. He's the only person who has eternal damnation. Essentially.
So he didn't,
So
He's down in that
Aaron
hole
was the high
still.
priest, and he was saying,
No,
"No,
it's
I
not
should be the high priest."
Yeah.
he
And
didn't
then
die.
No, his
opened up.
son.
Moses
No,
said, "If there's going to be
his sons did
a thing
tshuva,
that's never happened,
and that's
the
why,
ground's gonna open
and that
up
was
and
probably
swallow
part of
you
the
up."
problem.
Yeah.
Was he had
That's
a
that.
prophecy
Yeah.
that his great. He didn't think he could.
And
He
so
didn't think he
the
could be
ground
killed.
opened up.
Okay.
He thought he was
And it
invincible
swallowed him.
because
went all the way
he
down
saw
to-
that his
to the center.
great
And
great
then
great
being a bad
grandchildren
And
were
then
going to
there's a
be
place
big
where you can
tzaddikim.
hear
Yeah.
he's
So then, how
crying
can he
out.
die?
Moshe
They
is
didn't realize
Emes,
it
Moshe
doesn't
is
make a
truth,
difference to him.
Yeah.
His sons
and the
are
Torah
alive.
is true.
Yeah.
So
He's saying
and
that
his
from
sons
hell,
did
he's
tshuva.
suffering, and he's
So
like-
they lived and they had sons who were tzaddikim.
in the earth.
Right, so they had children who were tzaddikim.
Like to me,
And what happened with
if
him?
Moses said something, I would, kind of run with
He
it
went down into the
because it seems
into the
every-
mouth of
opened
the
up.
earth swallowed him.
one, 2 times is
Oi.
a coincidence. 3, 4, that's hey.
Well, God at Sinai told everybody, Moses is my servant.
Yeah.
Listen to Moses.
Anyway, so
should've
this
watched out.
is the coming down. And this comes from the water, which is, like we said, this is the idea that they have when they realize that everything they know doesn't even come close to any sort of real knowledge. They get frightened of so imagine what his real greatness is, and they come back down. But it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. So what's this? He makes peace on high. He makes peace on high. Is that this water that comes down, right? This shuv does not put out the thirst of the ratzu.
Really?
So, for example, I have
It
excitement.
rejuvenates it.
For example, I have excitement, right?
Rejuvenates it.
And then I realize how far he is from me, and I go into more of the blues, like wow, he's so far from me. What can I? But this doesn't put out my excitement to then go back up again. So that's that and the fire doesn't get rid of the water coming down, and the water coming down doesn't get rid of the fire going up, because they're both positive things, so they don't put each other out.
Got it.
So Leah's Mechaber says the Gamri that so it doesn't put out the fire completely, that he should fall from being thirsty and having a desire for God. Because there is the power to strengthen oneself again in a fire and a thirst. To add an even greater Madura Seish was like a huge raging fire. But yes, it says even more than the last time that he jumps, right, and then he has the going down. But then because of that, he goes up, and the next time he goes up even higher. Then he comes down again, but then he goes up even higher the next time. Like it says, fire from water and water from fire, meaning that's why all of the elements, right? They're down here, for example, you do not have anything that is a pure element. I mean, there's the element of fire. Fire isn't pure fire. Fire is made up of all the elements. Water is made up of all the elements. Wind is made up of all the elements, and earth is made up of all the elements. Do you know of any earth that has no moisture in it?
Exactly.
Even the driest sand or something has to have a certain amount of moisture in it. And it has a certain amount of heat and a certain amount of air in it, right? There is nothing that's so dense that it has zero air in it.
What is it?
Huh?
What is it?
Air in it. שאין בו אוויר בכלל.
Oxygen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
Or wind. It doesn't have, in other words, everything has spaces. Now, something very dense has much less spaces. But the proof is, if you look, they keep coming up with denser and denser and denser things. Why? Because everything, and they haven't reached the dense. Go to the core of the earth. Oh, that's even denser. Oh, go to the core of the sun. Oh boy, is that dense. You know? You know?
You seen the videos of the expansion of the universe, all the different sizes of the stars? It's like
So there's always, in other words, everything on this world is
Seeing the
mixed,
sizes of the
is
stars.
made up of some combination. Now the fact is, its primary element is Earth, so it's Earth. But then, depending, some Earth has more water in it, some has less water, some is more airy, some is less airy, etc., etc. Additionally, there's different kinds of fire. There's a fire that eats and a fire that drinks. Like it says that the fire on the Mizbeach, on the altar, on the holy altar, will not go out. Why? Because there's a fire that eats that can be put out by water, and there's a fire that drinks that can't be put out by water because you can drink water. It's actually we won't go into that because that's actually quite a complicated sugya in Gemara.
Ooh, I'm looking forward
talks
to
about
it.
top.
So very very deep in what do you call it?
That just means we'll have to go over it one day together.
No, this is
Talmud.
Gemara.
This is he's
Gemara.
quoting the Gemara.
The Gemara is
Yeah.
the oral Torah.
Okay.
Right, that's the Talmud. So that was from the approximately it was basically from like by the times of the temple and just after.
You see those books over there? The one in the middle? So those all came from Moses and came from they expounded on the written Torah. The written Torah is this thick. It's like this thick. And you see libraries full of Torah. It all comes from that. It's amazing.
Right, so you have there's different levels of Torah, and they're basically there's 5 and they correspond to the 5 levels of the soul. Naran Chai, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chai, Yechidah.
Really?
Oh, you didn't know that?
No, I know that.
If you came on Thursday nights, you'll find out.
Ah.
That's a Bitzalel.
We got the heavy
That-
hitters tomorrow night.
That's a Bitzalel
This is
teaches.
a-
By Bnei Emunah in Greenfield. That's what Bitzalel teaches. But that's what he's going through.
You're up
And
with
then and that goes connected Pardes and Chassidus. Pardes is Pshat.
Yeah.
That's the simple meaning. That's the Torah. Then you have remez, hinted. That's the Medrash,
What's British?
right? Then you have then you have Drush, is the Gemara, and then you have Soid is the Kabbalah, is the Zohar and Kabbalah. That's the secrets, right? And then you have the Chassidus, which is the
Really?
Yechidah. Because and the
Chassidus is higher than Sod?
Yeah, and the Yechidah actually, what the Yechidah does is it actually brings out the beauty in each one of those parts, but without changing them at all.
Okay.
And if you think about it, Chassidus doesn't change the Kabbalah, it doesn't change any of these other parts. It just brings out and it can even ties them together because like we can see in the piece of Chassidus here. Look, he was just talking about the Gemara. There he was talking about the Zohar, and there he was talking about. So he's pulling together all the different. There was a Medrash right in here before. It was all the 4 parts. Anyways, so now we get back to, and this was the greatness and the characteristics of Abraham. Allah Shalom, peace be upon him. That he was holich v'nesaya tamid. He was going and traveling constantly. B'chinas ratzav v'shuv. Eishomayim, fire, water. So when it says that Avram, how did he become a merkava? How did he become a chariot? It was by doing this work of excitement, right? Connecting to God, and then but now I have to bring the godliness down on this world, and make it take, be here. Then again, getting excited higher than when he goes down. But it's not just that he comes down. When he comes down,
That all without
amazing,
a
right?
godly soul.
Without a Torah, at least he had a godly. He was given a
But
godly soul.
I thought he had the potential for a godly soul.
No, he even had a godly
He
soul.
had the godly soul.
Yeah.
He had a Jewish soul.
It wasn't called a Jewish soul, but the only thing was it wasn't something you were born with then.
Who is
It was
this?
something you had to earn. It wasn't something that went by lineage.
Who are we
It wasn't
talking
something you
about?
got from your mother.
Avraham Avinu.
By the way, don't tell your mother she never gave you
He
nothing.
didn't have a godly soul?
No, he had.
Yeah, he had a godly soul, but he didn't get it the way we get it.
All the Jewish things.
Because for example, Yishmael didn't have a godly soul.
After
Yitzchak did. Jacob had a godly soul, but Esav didn't.
So he earned
But
it.
wait a second, but Esav's mother had a godly soul. So why didn't Esav? Because it didn't go that way. It didn't go by the mother back then. That wasn't until Sinai.
So if you were born of, that's why he let them out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's only after the Torah. Prior to the Torah, it didn't work that way. In fact, Eliezer had a Jewish soul. He wasn't Avram's son. He was
Really?
Avram's servant.
Oh yeah. So
Really?
why
He was a
Abraham didn't
tzaddik.
want it to be but his son no.
It's different because he was from Canaan. Whatever different.
Yeah.
He was?
I think so. I believe he was from Canaan. Anyway, or in either case, he wasn't from Avram's lineage. Let's put it that way. He wasn't from Terach and
Wasn't from his
et cetera.
line.
Well, it's a shame. A lot of Abraham's original followers, we don't hear about them. They kind of
Yeah.
disappeared.
Well, because there wasn't social media back then, you know.
There is one Peru
So they were more like on MySpace. That
Well,
didn't last.
Well, and it's also because their children didn't necessarily follow in that path or whatever. Yeah. MySpace, they're God, man.
Gone.
A lot of email.
You remember how big MySpace seemed at the time?
At the
Like,
time,
wow.
Woo! And Facebook made that look like
Yeah.
nothing.
Just wait, Facebook has its time too.
Yeah.
Everything does.
I remember I was in second grade when everybody was like doing their Facebook thing, and I was like,
Second grade.
I don't know about all that. Second grade.
So he went fire, water, up, right? He went fire that's higher than water, and then water that's higher than fire, and then going up and up and up until he became a chariot for the godly light down here. All this is something that can be accomplished in a spiritual way by the righteous ones, such as Abraham, the righteous ones who go before God, and as well as the ministering angels. Again, like I said before, there's a difference between Avram's and theirs, is that Avram's was by choice, and theirs not. Not every person merits this. That it should blow on him a wind from above. That he's able to sustain a constant. Can you imagine all day? Can you imagine coming to if I did this year every day and you had to come to it every single day and you were here from morning to night?
That was up.
Day 4, you'd have a heart attack.
That's for sure. Levi will do this all day.
And that's when you were a young Nathan.
I am a young Nathan. Don't do that.
Like a 5-year-old would only last
They'd
4
They'd
days.
be jumping, man. You'd be worn out before they were.
Have you ever seen me get worn out?
Nah, that's the truth right there.
Anyways, so just not every person could do this on a constant basis. Can you imagine? We're talking about. You want to talk extreme sports? That was Abraham. He was constantly at this breakneck, going this fire and total fire, total water, total fire, total water. That was all the time.
Wow. Baruch Hashem.
All the time.
Yeah.
That's why he only lived to 174.
That's why he only lived 170.
Well, look at the people before him. They lived like 1,000 years old. Okay, well, him with that kind of service, what do you think's gonna happen? He died very young.
Oh, he pulled through.
And since not every person could handle that, could sustain that, therefore the Torah was given at Sinai. This is why the Torah was given at Sinai. Shehein mitzvahs gashmim, that they are physical commandments. Basiyah gashmis, that we do physically. Shebohen v'al yadam, that through them and with them. Kol adam gamkin liyais b'chinas halach v'nesaya. Every single person could also, by doing God's commandments, which means for Jews the 613, for non-Jews the 7, right? By doing these commandments, every single human being can reach the level of Abraham of going and traveling constantly. Why? Because think about it. Even though these commandments, they're only a certain amount of commandments, but they apply to all the time. Right? So like the commandment of do not kill, do not hurt people, etc., right?
Yeah.
Right? That's one of the 7 for the non-Jews. It's one of ours also. One of our 613. Okay, but here's the thing, that applies always. Doesn't mean mostly don't hurt somebody. don't listen. Try to for the most part, don't kill anybody. No, it means don't kill,
Don't.
and not just
Don't
that,
do it.
and and don't hurt anybody, and that's what keeping that commandment means. Is it means training. Now, by the way, it doesn't mean that that sometimes you don't fall off of that and
Accidentally.
no, I don't mean I thought the knife was like this, and man, I fell and up, By accident, I went and told him, "Hey, buddy, you want to die?" And by accident, I told him that, and then I killed him. No, but I'm saying, first of all, even that you could accidentally kill somebody.
There is a city.
For example, when your
on a ladder.
when your ego and your brain, etc., tells you that it's self-defense in a situation where it really wasn't,
Ooh.
and those things move real fast.
Yeah.
Self-defense situations move real fast. You don't, in your mind, people, of course, everybody watching the video after, it's because, and of course they sit there for 3 hours watching the video of what happened over a 3-second period, and they're like, oh, you see, he could have, you only have the information you're given. So you could accidentally kill somebody. Furthermore, you could for sure accidentally hurt somebody, both through ego, it's real easy, and ego. Yashut. Without ego, it's also easy because again, you don't always realize, when you say something to somebody and then you don't necessarily realize the situation that they're in or something, and that they would take it a certain way, whatever it is. But meaning, we have keeping the commandments means that we have a commitment to keep the commandments the best we can, and when we fall off of that, we get back on. We get back on the horse again. Right, so through keeping these commandments, we can all be. That means that we can all reach them, and these have to do with physical things. We can be at the level. We can have this level of going of Abraham, constantly going and traveling. The explanation for this is that what did Abraham do? Fire and water, right? He did the excitement. And then they're bringing it down, they're going up and going down. So in the commandments, there's the same two elements. Because the Torah is called a water that comes down from a high place to a low place, which now comes down from his divine wisdom to us. And it's called don't say water, water, 2 times water. Okay, that's funny. He just gave it to us 5 words. That's the whole story in itself. There was 4 the 4 people that went to go into the pardes.
The parties.
There's they were, it means the garden literally, but it means they were going to go into the hidden secrets of the Torah, and they were warned beforehand that if you want to stay. And now what ended up happening was they were warned beforehand that the way to survive there, to come out okay, to come out in peace, is don't say water, water. Says when you'll see 2 pillars of marble, don't say water, water. The meaning is that you shouldn't think that there's that there's a God who's the God for down here, and then there's a God for in other words that God is always one. That's the main idea of it. And anyways, what happened was that one of them came out in peace. Of the 4, one died. One went crazy, and I believe one was Acher, that he became a heretic because he said water, water, and then because he said water,
Start tripping.
Yeah. Mayim el yonim, the upper waters. So what's water, water? The upper waters, bechinas yud chachma, the yud ilah is the upper yud of his holy name, Yud Kevav Ke, right? The name of God is made of 4 letters. It's a Yud, is a little letter, and then a Hey, and then a Vav, and then a Hey. It's which equates to it's said similarly to there's the witnesses. So that first word, which we don't pronounce it.
Yeah.
And it's not said with a J, it's said with a Y. That's the actual pronunciation. But we don't pronounce his name. We're not allowed to pronounce his name. But that's made. But so that first Yud. Which this is above the revelation of the Torah itself. That the Torah comes out of Chachma. It comes out of his wisdom. So his wisdom is higher than the Torah itself. So it's being revealed only from Chachman below. And it goes down to where? To Yud Tata, to the lower Yud. And the lower water is the end of creation, which is Kima Mitzvahs Gashmis Mepel, which is the doing of the physical mitzvahs. Which that is your kingship, is the kingship of all the worlds. So what's Al Taimur my mind? Don't say water. Is that don't think that the lower Yud and the upper Yud are separate. That in other words, us doing the commandments down here and him commanding them up there are two separate things. But rather, our doing the commandment down here, we are holding on to the bottom handle of the same thing. It's not a separate thing.
When you say water is like you think that there is no connection between.
You think that there's the Yud Ila'ah and Yud, there's the upper Yud and the lower Yud, and they're like two separate things. But realize that he above, in his complete unity, is totally connected in our physical actions that he commanded us to do. Not that there's like the him that commanded us this, and there's him that's removed from it. No, it's he himself commanded us these things. And when we do a physical thing down here, we've actually connected to his essence, not just to his name, and not just, but actually why? Because the reason we're doing it is because he wants us to do it, and that's the reason we're doing it. Not because it makes sense, not because we think he's smart, but because he told us to do it and we do it. And therefore, we become connected to his desire, which the desire, right, like we spoke about before, what the Torah did, was it brought down the source of all desires, the source of all pleasures.
When the Yud means Yud.
Yud ila'ah, shal Yud kevav ke batzilut, Yud lemata ze zasiyat mitzvot.
Okay. Okay.
זה המצווה בפועל.
And Yud למעלה is
is Yud shel Chochmat Atzilut. Yeah, if you want to go, do you want to transition to the cigar? You do cigars?
Do I smoke a cigar?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll smoke a cigar, absolutely.
All right, let's transition to the outdoor portion.
You don't forget to say bracha Corona.
Well, we can, yeah.
That's a great hat. I gotta get a hat.
You like that?
Yeah, I love the hats. I love them.
Man. Thank you. Actually, I just got it from the rabbi. He gave me a present.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, but where do these go?
Sam, thank you so much for joining us. Was it also a surprise? It was like